So when I was looking at this, JT and Coach Flo, I was just kind of looking at both sides, saying, okay, what was good on both sides, what was bad on both sides, right? So we're kind of evaluating both teams at the same time. But some of my notes are one sided. Okay. So what I saw with this was Georgia was spending a lot of time, they ran a lot of RPOs, right? Um, so the play action to the running back and then throwing it. And I think I put multiple in here because you can see um, I don't know how well Texas covered those. So if there's something I think Texas has to do better is figure out which type of RPO they're running. And maybe after JT shows this clip, and I'm sure he'll have a question, maybe you can kind of tell us on the different type of RPOs, meaning this RPO has a slant, some of them have bubbles, some of them have stops. As an offensive coordinator, how are you trying to figure out how to get your run pass options? So
So for me, I mean, I kind of break into three different categories. You've got your pre-snap gifts, which is just strictly alignment based. Like if you go back to the top real quick, down at the bottom, like if this were my offense right now and we're running, just power where we have all our RPOs on by default, that guy's running a hitch, an out, or a fade. So right here, it's like if the quarterback didn't throw the hitch in my offense, I'd be like, why did you not take your 5 yards? So that's just a pre-snap leverage and space read. So before he even looks at anything else, he's looking at that guy, and he should be able to go ahead and take that. It should be a pitch and catch 10 times out of 10. Let's run a monsoon. The second kind is your numbers counts. So it's like, okay, let's say that corner, number 7, let's say he's down at like 3 yards. He's playing some sort of soft press or he's fully pressed, and we don't like our matchup on the go. Let's go look at the numbers on the other side. They got 2 over 2 right here. They look like they're in man. I would say no to something like a bubble or a now screen, depending on if we're to the field or the boundary. Such as the numbers count, like how many people are over how many people, can we block them? 2 over 2 in man coverage, don't like that. So let's just go give the ball and play another down. The last category is what I think is happening here is a post-snap read. So the quarterback is meshing and reading. So like while the ball is in his hands, he is looking at the defense and evaluating, should I throw this ball or should I hand it off? And honestly, like with your read key and man, the read is really just does he win? Mm-hmm. So if it was any kind of quarters coverage, he'd probably be reading a rover or a nickel defender here. If he fits the box or if he drops out, maybe a free safety depending on what the formation is. But right here, I think he's just saying, does he win or does he not? And he thinks he's got a shot to make a completion here, so he rips it.
Now, let me say something about that. That was a great explanation. I do want to appreciate that. And I need for everybody to understand that might have took him a couple minutes to explain. His quarterback had about a few seconds to try to make this decision and all of this kind of stuff. So I'm saying that because they're always talking about Jalen Monroe and others, and I know there's different level of football IQ for quarterbacks, but it's not an easy thing to do when you got to figure out all things that coach just said.
And that's where part of it is trying to segment it into pre-snap and post-snap stuff. So it's like the gift and the numbers counts. It's like before the ball is even snapped, like he knows if he's doing that or not. And the post-snap is where you really get quarterbacks who can be like super talented and gifted at RPOs, like Tua with the Dolphins. He's so good at reading it, and he's got such a quick processing just side of his game to where he can know whether or not he should be pulling and throwing it or giving the football, and he makes good decisions and throws accurate passes. So there's some quarterbacks who are really good at it and some quarterbacks who try to see everything and they don't end up seeing anything. So like my coaching point is usually the man who sees everything is the man who sees nothing. The same thing I tell running backs, the same thing I tell quarterbacks reading RPOs. You need to know what you're looking at and what you're looking for. So like right here, he gets up to the ball, he sees man coverage. Does my glance win? That's all he's looking for. Does he win? So he snaps it. He's watching the glance, thinks he wins. I would probably honestly tell him probably to hand this ball off if I were going retrospect, but gets completion, so I'm not going to doubt him.
Well, actually, this went down as a drop, so it wasn't a completion.
Drop.
Yep.
I mean, I don't think that's a great read. I don't think he wins. There's not much separation there. I would say just give it a run right here.
Yeah. So, okay. No, that's good. It's interesting. So Georgia likes to run a lot of RPOs, and they did, get some yardage on that. All right, next cut. All right, gap control here, right? So now you could talk about up front because me and JT hit on these linemen all the time. You can look at them at their center, who's actually climbing up to this linebacker, and maybe I can get JT in on it after he talks about the offensive line and does he like what Georgia is doing here. And do you call this a split zone or what do you call this?
Yeah, this would be split flow.
Okay.
In my opinion.
All right. So talk to us a little bit first about what he's saying to this running back here. His aiming point and what are his options on how he can cut the ball?
So aiming point in zone schemes is going to be an argument you have with every single coach who runs zone schemes. You can differentiate tight zone, mid zone, inside zone, all this different stuff. Really call it whatever you want. Make sure you have a defined aiming point. So right here, it looks like his aiming point's the backside leg of the play side guard. That's what I would guess. It could be the play side leg of the play side guard. Really just depends on how wide you want it. And you just got to make sure that you're marrying that track of the running back with what you're teaching the track of the O-line to be. So for me, zone schemes, they all have the same read, just on different people. So right here, inside zone, his first read would be the first down lineman to the play side. So it'd be that guy right over 53. His second read, I always teach a 1-2 go read. So you're reading one guy, two guys. After that, go. So his second read is going to be opposite where that guy gets pushed. So if that guy gets pushed to the left here, his read goes one block to the right. If his guy gets
this
pushed,
guy, which one?
Whatever block happens next to the right. So as it develops, it's going to end up being that linebacker who's in like a 40 right here. He climbs to that play side backer.
Here.
As the play happens, that block and that read is going to change. So it's got to be a little bit dynamic.
Got it. I see. There it is. There it is. Okay.
So if he were from the top, actually to get like reached or to spike or to get pushed anywhere to the right side, now his read would transition one block to the left. So that's why zone schemes, in my opinion, they just take longer to work because you're running back. He's trying to understand, where's my read going? Is it going in? Is it going out? Who am I looking at? And really, when you refine that type of read, now you can start to cook with zone schemes. So like I'm a big wide zone guy. So the same read process happens for us just on the first guy on the edge. So it'd be that widest guy. So it's the same rules though. If he gets pushed in, our read goes out. He gets pushed out, our read goes in. So whether you're running inside zone, tight zone, wide zone, whatever it might be, for me, it's the same read, just on different people.
Got it.
And then there's some people teach the bang, bend, bounce. For me, it's 1-2 go. So that guy right here in this picture, his first read gets pushed out. So his read goes one guy inside. That guy gets pushed really in, kind of squared up. Take off. Go.
He gets skinny, JT. He gets skinny, man.
Imagine that.
He gets skinny.
Look at
that. Okay. Off to the races.
Hey, I like that. I'm already thinking. I was like, you know what? I'm about to call our running backs coach and tell him to watch this clip, or not this clip, you explaining this, because I did play running back once upon a time, and this kind of came natural to me.
Yeah.
But
pat yourself on the back there.
Yeah,
So
yeah. But the problem that I have as a coach is when things just seem obvious to you and you just do that thing, it's very hard to then teach somebody else how to do it.
Yeah.
Because then you're just sitting there like, dude, the hole's right here. It's like, well, how do you teach somebody to find it? What's that process that you can go through to get repeatable action like that, other than just saying, well, he's going to have to screw it up 85 times before he figures it out, because he may never.
And really, those 85 times, he's probably screwed it up 83 different ways. So it's like it's never the same error repeated. And that's, in my opinion, the job of a running backs coach is to get you 4 yards. And doing that is teaching them where their eyes need to be and how to read and process. Because, when I was at Davenport, we had the running back back of the year in the conference. There was nothing I was going to do during that entire course of the season to make him a better athlete. Like, he was as good of his athlete as he was going to be. But my role as the coach is to make sure I'm teaching him when to be where, how to do things, and get him in the right spot so that he can go use his God-given and skillfully earned abilities to go get yards.
All right. Okay, just quickly, JT, on the other side from the Texas standpoint, and this is a good angle. I kind of watched this and I was trying to figure out, did I like what their linebackers were doing or not, based upon the steps of the linebackers, and I've seen this when I was with Cleveland, all this, when you kind of start right and then you shift back left, because you can tell they've been kind of taught this for some reason, but it's back to gap control is what I had on this. Who has their helmet on the wrong side? Because he finds that gap. I'm wondering if that tackle should have left his head inside, or if the linebacker should have had his head on the outside of 55. That I know you hadn't
Can you go
watched.
to the wide real quick so I can see the coverage?
Yeah. So,
because to me it looks like
because
they're falling back, and the motion's taking the guy that's supposed to be responsible for the play side out of it.
But is that eye candy that you guys give, or is he actually? Should they be? So comes when who are you following? Because the linemen are going right. Should the linemen be going right and let somebody else worry about that guy behind the line of scrimmage, or do you fall back like you're saying with the linebackers because of the?
I'm saying, like, from an offensive coach's perspective, on defense you can't do both. You can't fall back and have your rotating safety take the motion guy. Like, if you're rotating that guy down and he's going to run with the motion because he does have curl flat, some sort of 3 variation, you can't fall back because you already have an extra hat back there with the nickel. So there's no need to fall back in this case.
You're saying that you should be going.
We should go.
You should go here because if something comes back to that side, there he is. Yeah,
Okay.
I agree with that.
And
or they should be rotating weak here. Whatever. I don't know what kind of rules they got with motions and whatnot. If this is an auto check or if this is a call, but whatever it is, like, they shouldn't, in my opinion, should not be falling back with the split flow.
I agree. All right.
So you got another RPO here.
It was just a different one, right?
Oh yeah. Well, this is the easy one, right? This is the one where you're like, look, I got a bubble. That guy block him. He's too far.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
so this is
maybe almost don't even fake it. Just throw it.
Yeah, I'm saying he knows, like, right now the ball's not snapped. He knows he's throwing that thing. He probably fakes it just to – if in my offense, I'm yelling at him because I'm like, just throw the damn ball out there. Like, give him the fucking rock. Like, let him go run because he's wasting time and giving that overhang more time to cover ground. And to get technical with it, I tell the quarterbacks, so if you go back to the very top, he's drawn a line in his head on the inside foot of that slot receiver up to 8 yards. And anyone in that box counts. So anyone above 8, and some coaches do it different. Some coaches do 10, 12 yards. They'll do in the apex, whatever. But count the defenders in that box that he draws in his head. Right here, they've got maybe 1. So.
Oh, you're saying from him. So, like.
No. So the one that you have drawn from the receiver still. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that one. So anyone outside that line counts.
Oh, I see.
So we've got 1 blocker. They've got 1 defender. Yeah, let's rip the bubble. Don't even fake it. Get the snap. Give it to him, and let's go get some yards.
Gotcha. Easy read.
Yep. Pre-snap. There's no post-snap read here, in my opinion. He knows he's throwing it.
Yep. Now Texas has to, and we're not picking on Texas. It's just because they're on defense first, but they did miss some tackles here. So it looked like the guy had a good break, and he cut all the way back, and they missed 2 tackles and guys chasing. So
yeah, and maybe at the end here, I need to show the passing chart for both teams' quarterbacks because it is fairly obvious what they did well and what they didn't do well based on area of the field. If I were to draw, you draw your little boxes here. Georgia lived right here,
Yep.
and they were absolutely awful everywhere else. I think they completed. I can show it later, but I can only remember 3. He was like 1 for 7, 10 yards and in the middle of the field, and he was 0 for down here, and he was 0 for here and 0 for here. So, I think that Texas is going to need to figure out the RPO game in here.
Yep.
And kind of force this again, and Georgia's got to be able to hit some things over the middle of the field. You can't have a zero passer rating over 10 yards a second time, I don't think.
Yeah.
Perimeter tackling.
Okay. And so I wanted to hear from Coach about this play design a little bit. It's really all about the top. You got the dive and while the running back. So this is interesting because, like I said, go to play 52 after this, but it's basically the same action. So I thought this was good. The only thing I really saw is, again, what Coach was talking about as far as the angles of the running back, gap control, because Georgia was able to run the ball on them as well. Ooh, look at this double team down here, JT. So, Coach Flo, I'm a defensive back, but I love watching the guys up front. Yeah, hopefully you appreciate that as a lineman. I just love when you see them big boys get all up with each other grill.
Yeah, it's fun. I mean,
so
it hurts a little bit after it sometimes, but it's definitely fun to watch.
So what I want you guys to remember is tight end block. You got someone who's coming back around by the quarterback and the running back by the action. Okay, those are the 3 things that I like, because I would say this is a common play, right? You see it in the pros and everything else. I don't know what you call it or what you call this motion, but it's very common, right?
Yeah. So to me, this is a post-snap reverse fake, and if you really look at like the elements and kind of break down what they're trying to do with it, this is the same play that we looked at earlier. Now it's not a motion, it's post-snap, it's inside zone, not split flow. All those things are true, but you're trying to control the backside overhang of the zone.
3.
Last time it was play side, this time it's backside. You're trying to control the overhang with some sort of action. So last time they used a fly or a jet motion to control the play side overhang and to get him out of there. I'm assuming they knew that Texas was going to fall back with the split flow. This time, they're using a post-snap reverse fake to try and pull that backside overhang away so that they can now try and, run the ball in the interior. So regardless of how you look at it, they're just trying to control overhangs with pre- and post-snap movement.
Man, don't you love this chess game, man? Y'all understand. People try to make football too simple, man. It ain't simple, bro.
And there's sometimes like we learned. So we ran a reverse this year, went all right, got us like 15 yards or something. Got to be happy with that. We planned on the next team we were going against. We knew they had a really good staff. So when you go against a really good staff, you anticipate they're going to watch a good amount of your film. We ran a fake reverse and nobody went with it. Nobody went with it. They all just stuffed it play side. We got like -1 yard or something. But it's like in that situation, you're like, well, what happens if we just gave the reverse? So it's this is a little safer. I would assume, I haven't watched every Georgia game, but I would assume they gave a reverse the game before, or maybe it's something they do regularly. But for them to respect the reverse fake, it shows that they either knew something or that they do something that this is working off of.
Okay. So just remember that when we get to 52.
Okay. Then I will ask my question after.
So look at the action again. It's not exactly the same, but it basically running back, guy coming around, but they actually hands it to him. So you need to go to Y copy so you can see the.
Let me move us over.
Yeah, I want you to watch what the tight end does. and I need Coach or both of you guys to really kind of talk to me about this and how they. Jesus, you're talking about wide open. What? So I don't know, JT.
This is really reminiscent of almost like a same side leak concept, in my opinion. So like leak is the one that you'll get off all the nakeds where the tight end blocks, then goes underneath and attacks up the field opposite. It's getting to the same spacing as like a leak concept, but with the flea flicker, they're just kind of going off that reverse fake that they gave earlier. So trying to elicit a response to it and then attack it. Because everyone's thinking like tight ends least your worries in this situation based off what you've seen throughout the game. They're worried about, they faked the reverse earlier. Now they're probably going to give it. They're just they're playing with you.
Can you? So again, this is coaching, right? To me, you brought up a term that we hadn't really used on the show before, so I kind of want to make sure that you kind of give an easy, simple definition, or maybe JT can too, of what leak concept means. People want to know what you're talking about. Leak. They're thinking probably some water dripping or something, but
yeah.
Well, I think that's kind of apt, right? It's slow. Essentially, right? It's not a pop where it's going quickly.
Right. So leak is it's a very popular concept, especially in the NFL and like high red zone, stuff like that, where the key element of it, you can run a bunch of different combinations or routes with it, but the key element is the tight end is going to fake block on the back side of the naked, and then he's going to go like a drag, so across the field, and he's going to bend it up the field. He's looking over his inside shoulder. So he's going to go like right up from there, up the numbers. Yep, just like that. So he's going to fake block, get lost in the wash. The quarterback's going to fake a wide zone away from him and then boot back. So wide zone would be going the other way, typically the way it's ran. So wide zone that way, quarterback would boot that way, and then he'd throw it back across the field to the tight end. That's the key element of a leak to me. Some people define it differently. That's the way I define it. This is kind of like a same side version of that, where instead of going across the field, now he's just going right down the seam.
Mm-hmm. Block, kind of getting lost. There he goes. Well, Coach, I just thought it was good, Okay.
So this is gap control again.
Yeah, so Coach, we always talk about, how defenses really have to be super sound in their gap. So I thought this was interesting because they ran a twist, JT, looks like 15.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Then I'm watching 37, and so this is where I'm going now because I see the guy coming up for 37.
You know you got some on the ropes when they put the bear front down.
Yeah. But it didn't – I'm trying to figure out what 15 was supposed to do. Versus 37.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I think what you want, and I think this is tough for him, right? Because he's in a zero, right? So just pre-snap, I imagine it's kind of like pulling. It's like, okay, you need to know who is it that you need to get around. Like not only your guy, but like who is the number, what two guys do I need to find myself in between, which when he's lining up here, I think he's got a note of who that guy is. And he's saying, I need to be on his outside shoulder. We're gonna twist like this.
Then the puller comes.
Right. And then he gets a little bit of okey doke here of like, oh, I'm supposed to be right here. But there's a new guy that shows up. Now, I guess it depends on who you ask as defensive coordinators, whether or not, hey, you need to recognize this and get out here, or if you take the route of, well, the linebacker's just supposed to make him right, which is kind of usually where I go is you're the one that's 5 yards off the ball, like help your boy out.
He lost the running back though. He thought he was going to cut back. I guess 37.
I think it comes down to like who's your box spill cap players. Like, is 15 supposed to leverage it, or is he supposed to box it? Like, what's his responsibility? I'd imagine he's supposed to spill it here, which with the tight end coming back around, there's got to be someone to box it back in. I don't know how Texas plays it typically, but I'd imagine in the bear front, it's got to be your linebacker because he's the one who can recognize it better. And they fell back with split flow action earlier, So I don't.
Yeah, well, and you got this guy. He's coming down, so
Mhm.
I'm thinking even more so. Like you need to be
He should be your cap. That
here.
guy coming down. Yeah.
So I think we're all aligned, and it's really flowing and going, and just trusting the people around you doing what they want to do, and you can't just be fooled by a lot of eye candy and things of that nature. They're linebackers. So what am I saying? Texas, if they're going to have a way to compete, they need to stop the RPOs. That's the first thing I said. And the second one is they got to do a lot better at the gap control. They're going to need to be able to get their linebackers going, and they need to go, or they're going to keep getting gashed on these running plays because they're falling back or hesitant or whatever it is. Georgia's too good at being able to do this type of stuff, and it could get.
I think we saw 2 clips now too where they fell back against some sort of motion or action going away. And I think this time this linebacker is like, no, you're not getting me on this one. And they just creased him. Like,
Yep,
I
they
mean,
got him anyway.
Yeah, so it's I think that's why like split flow is so prevalent, I guess I would say. Whether it's split flow insert like right here or it's split flow regular like zone. Just because you make the defense make decisions. Like there's a moving gap. It's also why gap schemes are so favored by a lot of coaches. Like there's a moving gap. Someone's got to know how to fit it. It's not just going downhill and running.
Okay. I think, what do we got? One more play out of this group?
No, we're done with this group.
Okay. Then this is before before we flip over, we probably should take our.
Oh, we should. Yeah, we've been going for an hour.
90-second break to help pay some bills. So, as we said before, grab your beer, grab your bourbon, grab your water. We'll be right back. Or simply show the world who you truly are, On 3 is here for you. They showcase the complete person, celebrating your passions, perseverance, and the pursuit of excellence beyond sports. These web pages are the ultimate digital hub to elevate your brand and highlight your journey. So head on over to www.on3.io/microsites and get started with On3 today. Okay, so let's get to so we're flipping sides this time. Texas now on offense and Georgia's on defense. What do we got? Like 5 plays, 6 plays, something like that?
We got 9, but I think we have possibly a couple more. How many did you pick? Do you remember?
I had 11 total, so I don't know how many we just watched or whatever.
Okay, we watched 6, so that means the ones that I picked are already in here. Okay.
So
you want to look at the left side of the secondary here. I'm assuming the defense is left, correct?
Yes. So one of the things why I said this is not necessarily to watch the secondary. It was to give me a reminder that when you watch these plays and you watch their passing plays, for whatever reason, Texas was throwing the ball. Oh, it didn't matter where they were. They were picking on that side of the field. So I don't know if they found the corner or whoever said, we're going over here. So that was the first piece. So there's a couple clips in here that when you just look at it, it became very evident. Now, they had to play catch up and try to make some things happen, but he's very serious about that. So when we're talking about how do you adjust on defense, I'm sure Coach probably saying the same thing of like, dang, why the heck they throwing over here all the time? And what do we do to combat that? So schematically, I don't, they were playing a lot of they weren't very sound in the secondary.
Yeah, and it kind of saved them. Georgia was getting pressure on
viewers.
25%. I think it was 25% of the dropbacks. Without blitzing, their pressure rate actually went down when they started blitzing. They were with just the 4. They were getting their pressure to sack percentage was like 27%, and with the blitz it was around 25. So they were creating some problems back here, and I think Ewers had something like, and I think Coach Flo, you did some work at PFF, didn't you?
I did for a little bit until I earned some money to go save up and then move out to Rhode Island. So right before I moved out there, I was working for PFF.
So I guess you can speak to how good these numbers may be, because we've always kind of wondered how these grades happen anyway. But maybe we'll ask you that after the film. But
Sweet.
they had Ewers marked for 7 plays that were turnover worthy, plays and 0 big time throws. Which also doesn't seem like a recipe for winning a football game against Georgia.
Or really anybody.
No. And
Yeah,
just
for anybody.
one of the other stat that I'll get into that I'll probably talk about a little bit, or that I could just go ahead and say now, is that Texas didn't have any explosive plays out of the run game during this game, meaning 10 yards or more. I think I put the 10-yard run on here that they had, but they didn't have any other ones that went for longer than 10 yards. That's different. There it is.
I was gonna say this might be it right here.
This was
Okay,
everything. All their big plays all came out of the pass, and they were typically to that one side. So, yeah,
So are we calling this counter here?
I would.
GY counter? Maybe GH. I guess because that's a Y, but whatever.
I call it GY.
Well, I think we see this play a lot every single week, right? You guys are scheming up your counter. So how do you guys do that when you're flow, when you're looking to figure out who needs a pull, who's the wrapper? Is it just standard? Your base is whatever, guard and tackle. I'm just making that up. I don't know. I think you typically think that, but now you have guards and tight ends, guards and H, the guard and the guy coming in motion here. Right? What are you doing as a coach to try to get creative and say, hey, we know we want to run this play, but we need to make it a little bit different. So can you tell us about that process as an offensive coordinator? How you actually?
Yeah, definitely. It's I think of it the same way. Like, it's what is the defense keying and kind of reacting off of that, and you'll know based on film study going into a game usually what they're going to key. There's also an element of self-awareness of just knowing, like, hey, we have run to our tight end 85% of the time or something. This team is a well-coached staff, or a well-coached team, very well put together staff. Like, they're probably going to key off where our Y is. So maybe you don't want to run GY counter, you want to run GT instead. So if they're keying where the Y is, now they're getting a false key. Maybe you want to do some arcing things. There's a bunch of different ways you can run counter off of it. But the main difference to me in GY or GT, and not technique-wise, just strictly like scheme-wise, is what are they keying? Are they keying the Y? Are they falling? I guess not falling back, but are they flowing with the pullers if you pull the Y? Or is it different if you don't? Are all things equal? Then let's go with the safer option and just pull the tight end. But those are the things that I'm looking for whenever I'm signing GT or GY. Granted, this season we were not a GT counter team. We didn't think we had the dudes to run it. So now if you're Texas, you got the guys to run it. It's like you can run whatever version you want. But it's dependent really on the rest of your run game. I know Texas is a big counter team, so it could be dependent on, like right here, they're running counter to the weak side when they very well in 12 personnel could run it strong. It could be a tendency breaker. It could be based on what the defense is leaning towards. So those are some factors that you'd look at. It really would depend on the particular opponent.
Do you at this level, at your level, and this level, do you guys change at the line which way you want to run it? Meaning, if you got a 3 or 2-eye or something, does it matter to you on the counter, or do you just change the way that you block it at the point of attack based upon the alignment of a defensive tackle?
To me, it doesn't really matter if it's at a 3 or at a 2-eye. And there's some people who swear by running it at the 3 technique, so your center has a shorter down block. And there's other people who are going to swear by pulling the center in a situation where it's a long down block. So it depends on the makeup of your offensive line. And then for someone like me who doesn't really care for running a 2-eye or a 3 technique, it's just going to be blocked differently. Last year, the way that we ran counter in our last game, it was just we called it, we ran it. It's a little bit harder to check with me just because you need 2 off the ball tight ends, or you need to check between GT and GY. So it's something where you'd have to motion, or there's an added element to where if you wanted to check it, the defense could also adjust. So if they're setting their 3 tech to the tight end,
right,
and
which is something that I would do, and you put the tight end over there, we're just going to move the 3 over there.
Yeah, they're just going to bump the shades, and then you're in the same spot you started at. So
Okay.
there's a couple different factors there, but I know some people like the Ravens are huge on this. They'll pull their center if they're going to run it to a 2-eye. Set the down block doesn't have to go as far. The guard can just down block, and the center will pull the kick out. But it really depends. Like I said, it depends on the makeup of your offensive line and kind of what your stance is.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. So we got a viewer question. First, I want to ask if you even agree with the premise, because there is the question inherently gives a statement of fact. So the question is, can you explain why both run game and play action aren't more effective out of pistol as opposed to shotgun handoffs? So my preface question is, do you agree that play action is more effective out of shotgun as opposed to pistol?
I wholeheartedly disagree, actually.
I was gonna.
Um,
That's why I asked, because that's how I felt.
But I would say there's an element too of like, how do you normally run the ball? So like you're inherently going to be more successful faking what you do.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you go pistol and you're 70% run action, you're probably not going to get a big fake or fit to the run action because they know that you're going to launch a shot off of it. If you're a team like we were, who was 45% pistol across the board, I think wide zone's a much better play with a running back in a home position, whether that be under center or from pistol. And that was our base run. It was 40% of our run game. We're going to fake our run actions out of pistol. And I think that's more effective if you were to say a pistol team running run action from pistol versus a shotgun team running run action from shotgun. I would side with pistol because your back turns to the defense.
Yeah, that's what I like, is the quarterback has to turn his back, and that, for some reason, elicits a response usually from the linebackers of the quarterback's not looking, therefore it's not pass.
Yeah, where'd the ball go?
Right.
Especially if they're good at hiding the ball.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I wonder if people get lazy with that piece as far as, hey, just run the play action over in the front or whatever. Because once you do that, is the ball actually in his left hand? Is it in his right hand on his hip?
Yeah, because if you're, with this still right here, if you're 5-11, if Ewers actually has the ball in his right hand and gives that empty hand to the back,
mm-hmm.
That's, to me, that seems kind of like what you want the textbook fake with, is that open hand going to the back and you're hiding the ball in here the whole time.
Yes.
Yeah, and you can have different actions based off of what you run. So, like, we had 3 main run action protections this year. Our most popular and best one was off our wide zone because, like I said, that was a huge chunk of our run game. So it was a setup run action off of wide zone, and we just told them to run the same track that they normally did at quarterback and extend. One of our guys liked to extend the ball. Another guy liked to extend an open hand. I didn't really mind either way. I felt like they both got good reaction because the quarterback's back was turned and there was a lot of flow with the offensive line. Now, when you get to like interior runs, it's like when we faked our tight zone or we faked our power, I always liked them to show the football because we didn't turn our backs on those meshes.
Yeah.
So just to present it in the belly and then pull it and
Peyton Manning was good with that. And JT, if you need to skip some of these just so the second time, some of yours you can. Or if we can speed fast. I know we're being very heavy. And thank you, Ben, for your comment. We appreciate it. But
no.
So the only thing I had here is the 4/3. What does that do? Because they still found a way to get open here. And it's really not 4/3. With your corner because they're
The
all
box
in man, but the corner's outside. Again, notice I said it was to the left.
Yep.
Defensive left still is. So
Just a good old fashioned Texas route, huh?
Yeah, good old box check on defense, in my opinion. So it's just first in, second in, first out, second out. How do you beat that? On offense, you run 3 routes the same direction.
yeah. So I mean, when you look at this and you wonder why they lost, I mean, we're only talking about this one thing, but it seems like Kirby and his staff, which you said, are very, very smart, and they coached up their team very well to put him in position to hand Texas this type of defeat.
Mm-hmm.
That's my opinion, that this was a coaching thing, and maybe not necessarily a talent thing. All right.
Again, creating explosive plays on the left side of the defense.
Man, come on, man.
Leaving his man wide open in the middle of the field.
Getting frustrated. I don't even know if I was like, man, can somebody over there cover somebody? But
I couldn't see. Did they get a run action fake here again?
Let's see.
He's got our cameras on him.
Yep, just a little bit.
Just a little bit.
So I don't know I know there's a couple different techniques people will teach their linebackers in run action, but I know a lot of people will teach like a robot technique where they're turning around and hunting up crossers.
Yeah, you got to
It
turn.
looks like one guy does that and the other one doesn't, and the one that doesn't gets the ball thrown by his ear.
The one on the hash mark right there now, what he's talking about. So he basically what coach is saying is that he needs to turn and look up, try to find that receiver that's coming in behind him. But he doesn't turn.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, or at the very least, he needs to gain a little bit more depth. I mean, he started at 5, he got up to 2 because of the run action. That's fine, but then he only gets back to 6.
He's late. No.
Yeah, our landmarks or technique. I can't criticize if he doesn't robot because I don't know if they teach it, but something's either off with landmark or technique in that case.
Yeah. So what am I thinking Texas is going to have to do is they're going to have to make more explosive plays earlier, right? In their passing game because they were late with a lot of this stuff, and they got to figure out how to run the ball better. To create some explosive runs as well. Okay. Of course, which side of the field they throw the ball to? That's the only reason I put that on there. He came from down here, but
Pick it on him.
they're just running over there, man.
Okay, so these are, I think I picked 4 here, and most of them are pressures. I thought this is kind of what Georgia's defense was doing well, right? Giving you, and you can't see him right now, but yeah, so you got a wide, you got a wide 9 over here, and I'm messing up the picture. Sorry. But then they're going to shift the front, right, and mug the backer. And they actually do a pretty good job of picking this up. The problem is the running back's got to kind of stand in there and
Get blasted.
Yeah. So everything's good except for 23 falling over. And then Ewers kind of has to start to try to escape. And then from there, hold on to the football.
Yep.
He didn't fumble it here, but he did in a later one. And if we can, I say we, but kind of just talking offensively, if we can, because this is 3rd and 5, right? So if you have a little bit more time, actually, that's not the same play. Sorry, it's 3rd and 11. So you need the time, right? You can't, the clock needs to be a little bit longer so that your quarterback, I don't think my pen's
eyes open. I mean, look at the guy at the top, the guy in the middle of the field.
Right. Yeah. But of course, you can't see him right now. Let me move our camera.
He's fighting for his life.
He's already under attack, and that's where I was kind of getting at with the pressure to sack percentage already is 25%. 1 out of every 4 throws looks like this as far as the pressures.
Yeah, I mean, in protection, this is just a matchup thing. Like, in my opinion, depending on what kind of a route concept you got on, there's different philosophies about how to pick up double mug, especially in the A gaps. And this is how I would draw it up. Like, I would have the running back. Now, I'd probably cheat the running back up to be a yard behind the line of scrimmage in a perfect world, but you don't always get a perfect world. But when you think matchups on 3rd and 11, like, you don't want your running back. Like, some people would say, oh, you got a full slide in the double mug. But now your running back's on a guy who pass rushes
end. Yeah.
Defensive end. You've seen those? Yeah.
Which is weird to say about college, but now for hundreds of thousands of dollars, he is rushing the passer, and now he's got to go block him. You're not going to get the ball off on 3rd and 11. So your best bet is to put him on the linebacker. He just can't get smoked by an equal matchup.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Well, here's your adjustment, right? We were talking about throwing the ball to the defensive left. Well, they got him.
Teague, got him.
3rd and 5. Now we're going to sit on it. We know where you're coming. We'll take that from you.
Let's say you can only throw over here 9 times, 10 times when you get
it. Takes one.
Right. So I guess, you hold this a little bit longer.
Get that scene.
Yeah, maybe you get the whole shot here. But again, I'm gonna move us. You can see how early this ball's coming out, right? So this is what we were talking about with Alabama's defense too, of when your eyes are in the backfield on the quarterback and you can see him throw the ball, it makes breaking on the ball a whole lot easier when you're watching the whole thing happen.
Yep.
If you never have to actually turn your hips or, put your eyes on the receiver.
Then go find the quarterback afterwards.
Right.
That's why you see more picks in zone coverage.
Yes.
It's a little trap. I like that. I don't know if this is quarter. I'm watching this. Is this?
I think this is Tampa.
Tampa 2. I see the guy running up with them.
Yeah, they got the pull runner. They got 2 trap corners. 12 is just sinking until the ball's out.
Yep.
I think, this is just Tampa 2. That's a great call. Like, that's like, I don't know what you're doing. That's like.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to ask you is like if you're a quarterback, if you being the offensive coordinator and yours comes off the field and you grab the iPad, maybe you guys don't have it at William Penn. We didn't have it at Drake.
We do, first year.
Huh?
We do first year with them. It was
nice.
Cool.
Okay, so you get the iPad and you're looking like what's the correction here? Do you have a correction? You say, hey, this is just not a good play call against the defense on 3rd and 5. We'll get it next time. My bad.
No. There's sometimes that happens. Like there's sometimes I'm like, hey, like I called 4 verts with 6-man protection to cover 4. My fucking bad. Like, sorry, dude.
Yeah,
like,
there's just nowhere to go with this one.
Yeah, and that's a bit of a loaded answer, but it's like there is times, or a loaded example rather, but there is times where it's like, yeah, that wasn't a great play call. Like we called a one-off play into not the right coverage, and we were screwed. I put you in a bad spot. I made you have to make up for my error, but we're a team, and that's kind of how the game works.
Mm-hmm.
So there's times where you screw up and put me in 3rd and 16, and I got to go try and make up for your error. I put a bad play call out there, and you got to go make up for my error now. We're a team. We work together. We got to figure this shit out. So
yeah, that's awesome. Say it for the people out there in the back.
Coaches are part of the team too. It ain't just players on there. Like that's something I preach a lot to my quarterback. Before every game, I went up to whoever the starting quarterback was. Actually, we had 2 guys who started a couple games for us. So I'd go up to both of them and be like, "Hey, you help me, I help you."
Mm-hmm. Nice. All right.
Okay, so I put this on here just because I thought this was beautiful. I loved this pressure right here. I'll move us over a little bit more just so we can see the defensive end right here. I just
boom.
This is great. It looks sexy on film. You get the twist and I don't know how they're IDing the mic here. I don't know how they're going to decide whether they're going to slide, whether it's going to be a half slide, whatever. What I do think I know here. My pen is not working anymore, but there's 6 guys on your screen that you can see the numbers of, or at least the helmet of, and you've got 6 guys in the protection.
Yep.
You think you're good. The problem is they sent the corner.
Oh, got him.
They only bring 5 here, right?
Yeah, they end up
They only bring
dropping.
5.
They end up dropping 2 out. They bring 5. Running back steps up. So let's go back here. So the running back steps up and takes the backer, number 5, I believe. Boom, and then you get
Sims are dangerous, man. Like
then you get the
there's so many-
cross, and they pass them off.
But
there's
yeah,
so many offensive coaches who will look on a whiteboard. I'm sure in the past self, me too, and be like, yeah, we're fine still. But the reality of passing and bumping this thing all the way back to the corner is just not going to happen in time.
no.
So it's like,
and
how do you?
the hardest part, I think, to this is
Short field, he's in the boundary.
right. You're already into the boundary, and he's only at the top of the numbers. Like this is not. I mean,
Yeah.
And you're playing Georgia. That guy probably runs a 4.3. Like this is, he's coming quick.
I mean, you gotta.
Corner was looking his
love to
chop.
say I would love to say my O-line would point this out, but I mean, the indicators are there. It's just knowing. I don't know their tendencies, so it's like against a corner pressure team, like we played in our last game, which we picked up a corner pressure and made me really proud. But I always teach the O-lines like press inside leverage corner, safety off the hash and low. So it's like if those things are happening, like I'm okay with you guys getting it out to a corner. But it's to the back's responsibility here. Like the back has to scan from number 5 to the corner. So he has no chance. Now, the easy way that you beat this on offense is you have to cross key your back. And if you don't know what's coming, like you're just screwed. They got you.
You can't. I don't know, because 5 actually came. It's the other guy.
It's like if they were to sort this thing, I say sort, other people say slide, whatever. If this slide was going to the offensive left, you're fine.
Right, because then because now the center is going to pick up 5, right?
Yes.
Instead of the back, and you're not
Yeah,
actually
yeah.
going to slide out to number 11, I guess.
Well, he's saying that the back be cross would see 18 is bailing, so he can go back and look left.
Some people call it an Abby, where the back is taking the opposite A gap, and if no one shows up, he slides. So then the tackle would take the widest, guard would take the second widest, center would take the third widest. Again, like you need to know what's coming in order to do that. But if you cross key your back, you're in a much better spot. And I don't know, like maybe Georgia may have been like on one right now, and they just know, hey, if the back's to the boundary, they don't cross key their back very often. We can bring this pressure.
Yeah.
And they could have dialed this thing up perfectly. Like it could be kudos to them. Great call. It could have been that they got lucky and caught them where the back was not cross keying. I don't know the answer to that one, but it could be a couple of things. That could have been just a great call, or it could have been.
I'm going with great call.
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, like the percentage of teams that cross key at a high rate is probably pretty low.
All right. Texas going to have some work to do, man, trying to figure out how to beat these dudes.
Yeah, I mean, if they can't get the run game going, like you said, if you're only going to be able to break 1 10-yard run, that's not going to be great. And then if you've got to throw passes like this, so this is actually Arches in the game. This is not particularly his fault. So this is one where I was saying I want to get your take on what you're telling your offensive tackle here. So number 56 starts his kick slide, but then he kind of shuts it down and he looks a little confused to me. And I want to know, how do you clean up his technique? Because that little hesitancy like this and he gets square.
Yeah, don't dance.
Right.
Yeah.
Doesn't bode well.
My favorite,
Holding.
I guess, joke is to our left tackle, Adrian Ayala, great player, honorable mention all conference. I go, dude, you're 6'5", 360 pounds. You're probably not good at dancing. Don't dance with these guys. Like, you just got to – and patience is the hardest thing for an offensive lineman because, like, you're playing a very active, very physical collision sport. You think, like, I got to move at all times to protect myself, really. And sometimes the best thing you can do is just sit there. So get to your aim point. For me, all our protections, aim point is outside knee to the midline of the defender. So if you draw a line from his right knee, it should go right down the midline of that defender. The tighter you get to the ball, the tighter the aim point goes. So this guy should be on inside leverage of him. The number 56 should be, that is. His knee should point right at the midline of that D end. He's in a perfect relationship right here. He should just shut it down. Just be patient. Now, as he continues to rush up the field, now you keep gaining depth. But,
My pin's
right here, it's like, yeah, like he's in a great spot right here. He's in a perfect spot. I would like to see that right hip a little more square. But, like, right there, if you draw that line again, he's outside. Like, he's trying to change it.
That's for the people that we're talking about. What'd you say about those hips being square on kick slides? Oh, Lord, how many times we talked about this?
Yeah. We've been talking about how Alabama's tackles tend to face the sidelines on their kick slide.
Drop the hip. O-linemen in general are not athletic enough to re-square their hip against a crossface.
Yeah.
But, I mean, yeah, he can't dance with that guy. He's got to trust his ability and trust his technique. He's at Texas. He's probably a great fucking player. But on this rep, he just dances with the guy and messes up.
Well,
it's also a very tough ask to look at a kid and say, like, hey, you know that 300-pound man moving at you full speed and you could kick my ass at any day of the week? Yeah, don't move. So it's like sometimes you got to realize what you're asking. Like, understand that it's hard, but you got to do it.
Okay, so I got one more question for you. Before we let you go, at least you're on the West Coast, so it's only 7:45 for you.
Yeah.
And I'm determined to ask this to every offensive coordinator that we have on the show, or O-line coach, and you happen to be both.
Sweet.
So help me out here. How can I, other than seeing people pull, how can I determine just by looking at the line whether it's zone scheme or gap scheme? Pulling makes it pretty easy for me, right? I can power, counter, that's easy. Guys are moving, you're getting the down blocks. But it's the duos.
Oh, you're asking me. Okay, fuck. All right. In my opinion, so like we carry tight zone. It's one of our complements to wide zone. I call it tight zone because our ID system is a zone ID system. But the way I coach it is literally, I try to explain this to a couple of our coaches, like it's literally duo. There's no like kind of or typically or sometimes, like it's literally duo. We just call it tight zone. And for me, what differentiates it is in a zone scheme, everyone's got to step with that play side foot first. Okay. In a gap scheme, you can step together, you can plant it and get vertical. There's a couple different techniques you can apply. But in a zone scheme, like all these guys, if they're running, so we go back to the top, if they were running tight zone to the offensive right, it'd be essentially the same thing as duo to the offensive left. The difference would be that left guard would take a right foot step, and on duo, he'd probably take a left foot step. Or sorry, the left guard, my bad.
Okay, so you're saying this guy here.
Yep. If it was a zone scheme, I would say he's taking a right foot step, no matter what. Doesn't matter where anyone is. It could be different sizes of step, but that right foot is going to be his first step. And if it was a duo, the way some coaches teach it, this is also where you get some ambiguity to it. He would potentially step with his left foot at the defender.
Okay, so what I just heard, I'm gonna repeat it back to you so I can make sure I got it right. Is I'm not gonna be able to tell.
You ain't gonna.
I think the most important part is it doesn't matter. Like, it's like sometimes is it inside zone or duo? Is it tight zone or duo? It's like who the fuck cares? Like,
yeah. So this is I want to go back to this clip right here because duo was a new concept for me, and everybody's like, it's power without a puller, and I'm like,
that never makes sense to me. Like
that. Yeah, that means absolutely nothing to me.
I understand the analogy, but I just disagree with it. Like,
And then they're like, oh, we got to look at the double teams. So then I saw this, and I'm like, oh, is this duo or is this inside zone? I don't know.
this is
I'm never
inside
going to
zone
know.
lock. So the one thing that, like, if it's duo, the way that I explain it to like a newer coach, like I had to this year, if it's inside zone, the O line is moving to the right, and the running back is also going to the right.
Okay.
If it were duo, the O line's going to the right, and the running back is going left. So like right here,
I see.
there has to
Okay,
be a
so
tight
then
end.
so that to me makes sense on now how it's power without a puller, because you're
Right.
basically telling me these are all down blocks, and if you had a puller, the ball's going to go this way, but you don't have a puller, so everybody's just going this way and the ball's going opposite.
Yeah. Like it's still
I can
creating a
handle that.
wall. The reason why it's like a gap scheme in some people's books is like it's still creating a wall. You're still stepping out. You're using gap scheme techniques by the O lineman, and then the running back just bang it down Main Street. So,
You have that thing on an automatic something where you just got your box that automatically.
I keep hitting. Look, I keep hitting the space button on my keyboard, and the box just keeps popping up, and I don't know. And I keep having to hit the trash can. I don't know what's going on. I don't know.
Right.
All right. Well, we've run through all of the plays. We've taken up 90 minutes of coach's time. We appreciate
oh
it.
man, this is why I love talking ball. Like,
Well, then here's another question for you. What's a good offensive play call against the Bear front?
depending on how you coach it. So like insert, like we saw Texas run a little bit ago, or Georgia run a little bit ago against Texas. Insert can be a really good play. It's just a tough block on your center. So when you get into bear front stuff, there's gonna be a hard block at some point throughout the line of scrimmage. For me, we ran into a bear front, like exclusively bear front team this year. I still liked wide zone into it. So, hey baby, it's my wife. But so like we ran into a bear front. I still liked wide zone because I liked having the matchups that we had with our one-on-one blocks to the play side. I thought it was an easier block to make. But there's some other bear front teams where you're like, so like right here, if you go back to the very top. So like right here, we ran into a team that lined up almost exactly like this. One backer in the box, and we had our tight end would be a little wider, and their DN would always be outside of him.
Mm-hmm.
So, and they would have a man coverage defender over the tight end. So in my opinion, I was like, let's run away from the tight end because there's an extra man defender out there. Not muddy the picture. The one-on-one block now becomes that right tackle against the defensive end. I valued that matchup way more than I liked my center one-on-one with a nose guard. That's a really hard block to make. And just the personnel that we had in the game, it was their best D lineman against an all-conference performer for us, but still a hard block. So I looked at that. I was like, I like our tackles against their DNs. I'm going to run wide zone into it. So for us, that game, wide zone was a great call. Texas, or Georgia right here, rather, they decided that their center could win that block. And they end up running insert, which is another favorite call of mine. And the insert guy doesn't even get to the right defender. But on a whiteboard, insert would still work. He has to read the block of the center, though.
Mm-hmm.
So other than that, I mean, you can go 12 personnel, and now your options are wide open. 12 personnel counter is awesome into bear fronts. You're not going to be able to find a straight up bear front answer out of 11 personnel that has all the numbers accounted for. Just, the math is off.
All right. Man, awesome work. And Kat, we sorry your brain hurts, but we went high level on y'all today, baby. We brought that fire. Coach Connor Floating, man, did his thing. Like always, man, we love when we have people come on with the expertise.
I know. I like when I get to learn something too.
That's right. Me too. And we're sorry we did keep you for a long time.
No, you're all good. I love talking football. Every year we do with our players, it's like, what's like your hobby? And my answer is always so boring. I'm just a fucking football nerd. Like I have tons of football film that I watch religiously. Like I watch like 4 or 5 different teams every week in season on top of my own film. It's like I love football. So I just like talking ball with people that enjoy talking ball. So I thank you guys for having me.
Well, we're wishing you the best. Everybody make sure you guys Can people follow you? You got any social media stuff or something? How people get to
Yeah.
you? I'll let you.
I'm not on much social media, but I got Twitter at CJ Floden. Just CJ, then my last name, Floden. That's really the only social media that I got. But if you follow me on there and you DM me, reach out or anything, if you got questions or you want to hit me up about talking through some things or you want to teach me some things, I love learning football too. Like I'm trying to learn every day. So if you guys do something unique, please reach out. So like if everybody,
Yeah. See, that's the person we got to ask right there.
Yeah.
We know.
But reach out to me on Twitter, CJ Floden. Follow me, DM me, hit me up. My DMs are open. I will respond as best I can.
JT, you got any last words before I get ready to close this thing out?
Yeah. Weekly reminder. Playbooks are huge. Cut the players some slack. They're asked to know a lot of things and react to a lot of things
very quickly. So all that got to be. You heard Coach Flo talking about it earlier. What they got to process before the snap, or maybe in the play is just don't ever call people dumb jocks because I don't like that because it's a whole lot more than you guys think to execute this.